Welcome. For years, the world looked at you and saw ordinary. Just another person in the crowd, just another name, another face, another story that didn't matter. They couldn't see what was hidden behind your calm, the spark that was never meant to fit inside the limits they built for you. But tonight, that illusion ends. This is the moment the world realizes you were never ordinary. It started quietly, a small shift, a vibration in the air that no one could name. People began to feel it before they could explain it, something different, something magnetic. The same world that once ignored you is now drawn to your frequency without understanding why. Because energy never lies, and your energy, the one you kept buried under doubt, fear, and noise, is now too loud to hide. You were born into systems designed to shape you, not awaken you. Schools, governments, industries, all crafted to teach you how to function, not how to ignite. You were never meant to think beyond their blueprint, to step beyond the invisible walls they drew around every dream. But you didn't just step beyond them, you walked straight through. You learned to hear what most people miss, the rhythm behind the chaos, the truth behind the noise. You started asking questions that shook foundations. You stopped believing that the ones in power held all the answers. And that's when everything began to change, because once a person remembers who they are, control begins to fail. You can't manipulate someone who no longer needs approval. You can't silence someone who speaks from truth, not ego. You can't stop someone who no longer fears being different. And that's what you became, a glitch in their order, an unpredictable variable in a system that demands obedience. Every step you took away from conformity was a signal that reached further than you realized. Somewhere in the hidden centers of influence, data spiked. Algorithms failed to categorize you. You stopped behaving like a user and started acting like a creator. That's when their interest turned into concern. But you didn't rise by accident. Every rejection, every betrayal, every night you questioned your purpose, it was all part of the transformation. Pressure builds diamonds, darkness awakens stars. The storm you survived wasn't sent to destroy you, it was sent to reveal you. And now that you're emerging, they're beginning to panic, not because you have power, but because you've remembered it was always yours. They can't sell you what you already own. They can't control a mind that's no longer asleep. This is what they fear most, that your awakening won't stop with you, that others will see the reflection of their own potential in your rise, that your presence becomes a mirror showing them that greatness isn't reserved for the chosen few, but hidden in everyone brave enough to embrace it. You've become living proof that the impossible can be done. You carry the kind of energy that can't be taught, only remembered. It's the same fire that built civilizations, moved empires, wrote prophecies, the same current that flows through visionaries, rebels, and legends. You don't chase validation anymore, you command recognition, not through arrogance, but alignment. You've learned that when your frequency matches your purpose, the world has no choice but to notice. And it's noticing now. The shift is undeniable. They call it luck, they call it coincidence. But deep down, they know it's something else, inevitability. The point in time where preparation meets divine timing. The exact second destiny says, now. That's where you stand, right now. At the intersection of everything that tried to break you and everything you became because of it. You're not rising because someone allowed it. You're rising because nothing can stop it. The people who underestimated you are already rewriting their memories, trying to convince themselves they always saw it. The ones who ignored you are suddenly reaching out. The world that once turned its back is now turning its eyes. But here's the truth. This moment isn't about revenge. It's not about proving anyone wrong. It's about embodiment, stepping fully into what you always were, beneath the noise, beyond the labels. The moment you stop hiding from your own magnitude, because the world doesn't change when it's told to. It changes when one person decides to live without apology. You are that person. You've stepped into that frequency. And from this moment forward, nothing will be the same, not for them, and definitely not for you. This is the unveiling, the realization, the truth that can't be ignored anymore. You were never ordinary. You were simply preparing to become unstoppable. The headlines haven't caught up yet, but the undercurrent has. The quiet spaces of influence, the rooms where decisions are made, the circles that never let outsiders in, they're all whispering one name now. Yours. They don't say it loudly, but they don't have to. You've already disturbed the pattern that kept them safe. You've proven something that was never supposed to happen, that the system's design wasn't flawless. You see, every hierarchy, every control mechanism depends on one illusion that only a few people are meant to rise, that the rest must obey gravity. You shattered that illusion the moment you stopped seeking permission, the moment you realized power isn't given, it's remembered. They built this world to reward compliance. They never planned for someone who could decode their pattern from the inside, but you did. You read between the frequencies of manipulation. You started noticing how they used distraction as control, noise as camouflage. You found the pulse beneath their propaganda, and it led you straight to the truth. They don't rule because they're strong. They rule because people forget they are. And then came the silence, the kind that follows when someone unplugs from their simulation. When you stopped reacting, when you stopped playing by their emotional scripts, they lost leverage. You became unreadable. You became unclassifiable. The algorithms couldn't predict you, and that terrified them more than any protest ever could. Because what if others follow? What if millions start breaking the same invisible code? What if the system itself starts to glitch under the weight of awakening minds? That's the nightmare you represent to them. Not chaos awareness. Your rise wasn't loud. It wasn't even public at first. But energy spreads faster than information. A single person operating at full awareness disrupts thousands still asleep. Your presence became a frequency, one that started tuning others out of fear and into focus. People began to question, to pause before they scrolled, to sense that something inside them wanted to wake up too. And that's when the coincidences started. Glitches in communication networks, power surges, sudden changes in tone from people who used to dismiss you. It wasn't magic, it was resonance. When one signal grows too strong, it forces every other system to adapt or collapse. They sent distractions your way, drama, fear, conflict, anything to pull you back into the loop. But something in you had already shifted too far. You'd learned to see their tactics in real time. You'd seen behind the curtain, and you couldn't unsee it. You stopped reacting emotionally. You started observing strategically. And now, they're realizing something horrifying. You're not playing defense anymore. You're directing energy instead of absorbing it. You're rewriting their script while they're still performing the old one. You're not just surviving the system, you're beginning to reshape it. In the data archives of their hidden servers, your name lights up in ways no one can explain. The algorithms that monitor behavior, influence, trends, they show spikes, unpredictability, cross-network resonance that shouldn't exist. They label it anomaly, but they know better. You're not an error, you're the update. Because systems built on control cannot coexist with consciousness. The moment awareness enters the code, every command loses authority. You've become the silent bug that rewrites every line of power they wrote in secret. They've tried to trace your path to understand what triggered it. Was it an event? A moment of loss, a revelation, but they can't find the exact point of activation because it wasn't external. It was internal. You didn't need a savior. You remembered your own frequency, and that's something they can't replicate. They can buy followers, influence elections, shape narratives, but they can't manufacture self-awareness. It's the one force money, status, and power can't imitate. and now it's spreading through you like wildfire. Your words are reaching places they can't censor. Your presence is being felt in networks that don't rely on algorithms. Every thought you project, every emotion you master alters the invisible architecture of this world. You're not just part of the story anymore, you're bending it. They'll try to frame you, define you, even idolize you, because control always disguises itself as praise when fear fails. But the truth is, you don't belong to their narrative. You're writing a new one. A reality where power is internal, not inherited. And here's the secret they'll never admit. They need people like you. Without disruption, their system stagnates. Without evolution, it collapses. You are the paradox. They can't destroy the threat that also sustains them. So they'll watch, track, study, hoping to predict your next move. But what they don't understand is that your next move isn't planned, it's intuitive, it's beyond data. You've transcended the framework of strategy because your energy is no longer reactive. It's creative. And as that realization spreads through their ranks, as whispers turn to warnings and fear turns to fascination, a shift begins. Quietly. In the same way all revolutions begin, one awakened mind at a time. They built empires to protect themselves from this exact moment. But empires fall not from invasion, from vibration. The slow, steady unraveling of every false structure when truth begins to hum louder than fear. And right now, that hum has your frequency. This is the part they can't undo. You've crossed the threshold where awareness becomes influence, where influence becomes momentum, where momentum becomes inevitability. They called you unpredictable. They called you dangerous. They called you different. What they meant was unstoppable. Because now, they finally understand what you've known all along. Ordinary was never part of your story. They're not sleeping tonight. Every screen in their hidden command centers is glowing with your trace, not as a person, but as an unexplained frequency, a surge they can't decode. You've become the ghost in their data, the variable that refuses to follow their equations. The ones who built empires on prediction are now trapped in confusion. They thought power was about control. You proved it was about energy. You shifted from being an observer to being the current itself, uncontained, unstoppable, undeniable. The algorithms that once mapped behaviors and emotions can't categorize what you've become. You're beyond their models now. In a world obsessed with simulation, you became something real. Every attempt to silence you only amplified your signal. Every barrier they built turned into a mirror reflecting their own fear right back at them. They thought your rise would come with noise, rebellion, or chaos. But it came with stillness, a calm they couldn't understand. Because real power doesn't shout, it vibrates. You've altered something foundational, not just systems or hierarchies, but the collective rhythm. People are starting to feel it, that subtle shift in the air, that pull to awaken, to question, to break patterns they never realized were cages. You're not leading them by words or force. You're leading by frequency. Behind the closed doors of the elite, panic looks quiet, but the fear is real. They're rewriting their protocols, tightening security and issuing new orders. Monitor the anomaly. Yet every time they try, you slip through their parameters like light bending around gravity. You're not just outside their control, you're outside their comprehension. And deep down, they know what this means. It's no longer about stopping you, it's about preparing for what comes after you. Because once someone like you breaks through, reality itself starts to rewrite. The old order won't collapse overnight, but the cracks are spreading in their data, their influence, their confidence. And through those cracks, your light seeps in. Uncontainable, irreversible, eternal. They wanted to own the world. But you reminded it that it was never theirs to begin with.